Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Paul joined alongside Robert Ziggy Ziegler at the University of Virginia and producer Zach, the best producer in the game, is with us. Zach said no camera on himself today, which is kind of disappointing for everyone.
He's busy walking into the season.
It might be that, but I think once the season starts, we'll have to get the camera on, the Zach cam back up and running, because it adds another element to this show that really can't be replicated at all. So remember, everyone, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. We just got over 12,000 subscribers, which is really cool before the season started. We're already climbing towards the 13,000 as we're speaking right now. Every hour or so, we're adding a few people. So it's fun to see that number continue to go up, people engaging with the channel. It's a lot of fun. And of course, you can become a member and join our Pigskin Pick'em League on ESPN if you are a member.
Today's the last day.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
Ziggy.
It's just by the time the Ravens-Chiefs game starts, you will be out of time. So if you haven't done it yet, we made a community post about it, but get on that quick.
Yep. And you can always join after the Ravens-Chiefs game. The only thing is that you will then be one game behind. So you can join really anytime you want during the season. We'll be having different competitions throughout the year. Week 4, week 8, week 12, week 16, we'll have individual competitions for those weeks where the winner, whoever picks the most games correctly, will receive a free Paul Farrington Show t-shirt. And the winner of the entire challenge gets a Paul Farrington Show merch bundle, which, as we said on the last show, still don't really know what will be in the merch bundle, but it will be very cool, very fun.
And, we were talking about it before the show, there could be a few surprises as the season goes on. Well, unexpected. If Paul's feeling generous, any week could be a week where you get something if you win.
Yeah, so remember, to do that, you have to become a member, and you could do that by going to our channel homepage, clicking join on desktop. If you're not on desktop, if you're on your phone, and you have it open on Google Chrome, select the bottom 3 dots in the bottom right of your screen, and it will say request a desktop version. And if you're on that version, you can see on the homepage the join button, and you can join. Ziggy said I shouldn't say that on the show, but I feel like people have enough questions and enough difficulty.
Well, 55 people have figured out how to join. So I don't know. Clearly it can be done. But, I was thinking 55 is a pretty good size, right? It's not 10,000. You've got a real chance of winning. But, if you come out on top or near the top of a group of 55, 60 people, you did a good job.
Oh, it's the perfect size for a competition.
Something to be proud of.
Anyone can win any week. It's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, if you can't catch us on YouTube, you can always listen on audio. And remember that, however, on YouTube, the community page, you'll see a lot of announcements for the show, like Ziggy putting out the another call to join the Pigskin Pick'em League. So that'll be
a mailbag.
Fun. Or a mailbag, like today. Today's episode, an NFL mailbag. We got a bunch of questions from people, which is really fun right before the start of the season. It's great to have football back. I was telling my mom and my sister at dinner today, starting with Thursday night football tonight, the Chiefs and the Ravens. We have, 5 straight days now, if you include college. Chiefs, Ravens, Packers, Eagles, college football on Saturday. Sunday, the whole slate. Monday, Jets, 49ers. It's an awesome 5 days of football that we have coming up. A great way to kick off the season.
No doubt about it. And I can't wait to go live before the Packers-Eagles game, 6:15 p.m. Eastern. We will be doing a live Paul Farrington Show with the first ever live Jack Cap of the Week, which cannot be missed and will come in just in time for your weekend degeneracy. So it'll be a great time. We've done during the Packers playoff run when we did live shows, it was a great time. We always appreciate sort of getting the community together. And now it's like 30 or 40% bigger than it was back then. So I can only imagine what it's going to be like now.
Oh, that's good. That's going to be a lot of fun. A huge game to kick off the season for both the Packers and the Eagles. We'll be going live before that. Looking forward to seeing everyone there with questions, comments, and just some good vibes. So without further ado, why don't we hop into this mailbag here? A lot of great questions. We appreciate everyone who participated in this one. From Ryan Dreischer, 496. He says, not a question, just wake me up when Thursday night football starts. Thank you. That's a great start to this.
Paul, that's not a great start of the pronunciation, though.
Dreischer?
Dreischer?
I thought he said his pronunciation was Dreischer.
Oh, fair enough.
I could be wrong. I know Ryan sent in something telling us how to pronounce his name. So if I'm butchering this again, I'm very sorry.
I would have thought it was Drescher, but
I think that's what I said initially, and I was correct. Well, we'll see. Ryan, let us know who messed up here. From James Library, who is also a member, James says, do you think Jerry Jones will regret not re-signing Dak? It sure sounds like, based on Dak's comments over the past couple of weeks, he'll be ready to move on at the end of the season. Keep up the amazing work. Ziggy, you want to take this one first?
Yeah, I mean, what did Brandon Cook say today about Dak Prescott? He said that the way Dak Prescott's treated is blasphemy. It's unbelievable. The guy shows up every year, year in, year out, puts up numbers, leads the team, 3 straight 12-win seasons. I know a lot of the fans of the show are Packers fans, and I know things have often been good for them. But 3 straight 12-win seasons, there are not many quarterbacks in the NFL that can do that. And I know the playoffs are disappointing, but everyone's a playoff choker until they're not. I don't know what better players walking in that door. Trey Lance, whoever they take, like the 25th overall pick when Dak Prescott leads them into the playoffs. Like, no, there's no better option. The price only goes up. And I have to imagine he's staying. I can't imagine that Jerry Jones is going to let him walk. But I think the negotiations are going to get ugly. And they could have had him so much cheaper. They just could have.
They could have. Yeah, just looking at Dak's stats, 2021, 2023 goes for about 4,500 yards, 36, 37 touchdowns those 2 years, only 10 interceptions. I mean, 2 of the last 3 years, he has been elite. Again, second in MVP voting last year. Diana Rossini reported today that Dallas is willing to pay the annual salary to match the elite quarterbacks in the league. But where they're potentially getting caught up on right now is how long Dallas wants to commit to Dak in the future. And part of that problem, I'm not sure how much of this is her hypothesizing versus her like actual knowledge of the situation, is how much Dallas trusts Dak to be able to win a Super Bowl. And truthfully, if you're going to pay him $60 million, $55 million a year, I mean, what are we talking about? You think we're talking about a 4th or 5th year contract here? Is that what's getting caught up? The 5th year, maybe?
Well, I think also, I mean, you have to keep in mind, Dak is 31, right? So if you commit to 4 years for him, you're committing until he's 35, 36 years old.
But is that crazy? 35? Like, that's what Kirk was last year.
No, but I don't think there's a guarantee. The thing is Dak needs to play at the level he's playing at. And we've already seen, I mean, Dak Prescott has sort of lost. People forget that he was a really effective rusher early in his career, and he's lost that. That's not something he can really do anymore. So if you're the Cowboys, I understand why they're sitting back saying he hasn't won a Super Bowl. He's getting older. We're not sure we want to keep him around. We've got a lot of other people to pay. But look, if you let Dak Prescott walk, you are going to have an elite roster with no quarterback, no options, and no chance of winning a Super Bowl. And whatever you think your chances are with Dak, they are not zero.
Yeah, and to answer the question officially, which is, do you think Jerry Jones will regret not signing Dak, re-signing him?
Yes, the answer
the answer would be yes. He probably already does, like you just said. I am anticipating a deal getting done, though. I'd be very surprised if Dak Prescott is not on the Cowboys next season. Very surprised. Let's go on to the next one here from John Exler. He says, "Hey, gang, love the show. Look forward to it every week. Hopefully this will be my first mailbag question read. Is it crazy?" Yeah, well, here it is. This is the first one. "Is it crazy to think the Lions will have a down year? I think they'll have more of an NFC Championship hangover than the 49ers will have a Super Bowl hangover. They have no organizational history of continued success, and I think they'll have too much pressure on them to actually succeed the way people think they will. Most sportscasters are choosing them as the number 1 seed and the Super Bowl champ. They'll bite the dirt, in my opinion." That's you really aren't hearing a lot of Detroit flopping, but I think you're hearing that for a reason, is because this team from top to bottom is really good. We said this before, not many holes on the team. Other than, you got to see what happens with the secondary with Terry and Arnold, Carlton Davis, a lot of new pieces where Brian Branch is really the main guy there that you can trust. But again, a ton of talent there. It's just a matter of will they or won't they be as good as you're hoping for. And I think they'll be fine. It would take a lot. It would really take a Jared Goff injury or a big step back from Jared Goff for this team to not be good, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I know people talk a lot about organizational history, right? But you have to keep in mind, Sheila Ford Hamp took over in June 2020, and everyone can tell this has been a completely different organization since then.
Yep.
Right? She cleaned house. She brought in an excellent coaching staff, an excellent GM. And if you look at the building, this isn't a team that's intimidated by the fact that they historically haven't had success. They're energized by it. And let's not forget, right? There were big expectations for the Lions going into last year, right? Maybe not as big as they were, but they were a lot of sleeper Super Bowl picks. A lot of people expected them to win the NFC North and do very well. And they did. So this is a team that knows how to rise to meet and even succeed expectations. It's unlikely they win a Super Bowl because it's unlikely any team wins a Super Bowl. But again, I do think they will make the playoffs. I think they will be good, but there's always a risk. Sure.
Yeah, there's always a risk to it, but they have had a different feeling, like you said. I know people want to look at this and say, oh, they're the Lions. They're going to suck. It's kind of like the Browns, kind of like the Vikings.
It's overthinking it. They've got one of the best rosters in the NFL of one of the best coaching staffs in the NFL. What more do you want?
So, I think they'll be fine. But look, I'm always open to a hot take. So John's giving us one. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. From Joer 1678. Joer says, who do you think will have more rushing yards and overall yards from scrimmage? Josh Jacobs or Aaron Jones? I mean, I know it's 100%.
This isn't close. And I mean, that's no knock on Aaron Jones. But not only is Aaron Jones not going to be the featured back in Minnesota the way Josh Jacobs is. I mean, Josh Jacobs could be getting 80-90% of the touches out of that backfield. Josh Jacobs at this point in his career is also just the better player. I don't think there's a lot of contesting here.
Well, Jacobs is 3 years younger. Yep, he's in the prime of his career. Aaron Jones, though, to be fair to Aaron, the final 5 games of the year, I read off his rushing statistics last year, and they were awesome when he came back. He was a huge part of that second half surge for the Packers as they made their run in the playoffs and up to the playoffs. But yeah, the Vikings are probably going to work in Ty Chandler a decent amount. As far as fantasy goes, I think if some people have asked about Aaron Jones, I think he'll be a decent fantasy player this season, but handcuff him with Ty Chandler because Ty Chandler will get... Ty Chandler is a good running back. Yeah. So yeah, I'd go Josh Jacobs.
I mean, the Packers signed Josh Jacobs hoping he repeats the 2,000-yard season he had 2 years ago, right? Aaron Jones is not getting close to that.
How many did he have? What do you have? Like
2,000 scrimmage yards.
Oh, okay.
Right, it was like 1,650 rushing and 400 receiving.
I think that's about right. From Pomsky X, he says, is everyone excited for week 1? Must say it's going to be a crazy start to the year. This coming week, what are 3 must-watch games and some key takeaways that you want to see from those matchups? For example, Love performing at a top-tier level, Green Bay stopping the run, playing well for Minnesota, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think there's way more than 3 games that are sort of must-watch this week. But if I really had to narrow it down, Ziggy, tell me if you like these ones. And Zach, feel free to chime in as well with any games that you're looking for. I'm looking at Texans, Colts. I want to see the return of Anthony Richardson. I think that's going to be awesome. Packers, Eagles. I really want to see how the 2 defenses look following the collapse from Philly and the new coordinators for both those teams. And of course, you want to see Jordan Love and Jalen Hurts battle. That's just a fun game. And the other one I think has to be on everyone's list is Jets 49ers, where you just got to see what Aaron Rodgers has in what is truthfully his debut with the Packers. So those are the 3. There are a lot of other great games, great debuts that are going to be happening, but I'm excited to watch those ones in particular.
I mostly agree with that. I would probably, I get why you're picking Texans Colts. There's a lot to watch. I would swap that out. And I'd put in, honestly, I mean, this isn't a surprise to anyone. Ravens Chiefs. You just want to see how this Ravens team, after losing so many pieces, can go because they want to be a contender in the NFL. But I mean, look, there's so many other things I want to see. How does Trevor Lawrence do against a new look Dolphins defense?
There you go, Zach.
Right, there's a lot going on there. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. What do they do? Deshaun Watson is sort of on his last chance to make the Browns relevant. The Rams, are they going to be able to hang with the Lions after a narrow loss?
Lions, great.
And I mean, even like Jaden Daniels and Commanders Bucks, Raiders Chargers could be a game that decides a playoff spot. Nix and Broncos.
Listen every game here.
I've said this to you. This is one of the best NFL slates I can remember. Almost every single game has something I genuinely care about.
We didn't even say Kirk and Russell Wilson debuting in Falcons Steelers. There's just
because that game's so decided.
Hey, and how come no one's mentioning Vikings-Giants here? That could be a wild card determining factor, maybe a 1 seed determining factor by the end of the season.
That will be the game I'm watching from that 1 p.m. slate, closer than any other. Show be damned. But you want to see how Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones do. But it's just, I can't believe it. I'm excited for basically every single game.
Yeah, no, the NFL did a great job. We said that a few times now. From Michael Morrill, 8353. He says, with Dak asking for money, That doesn't seem he is worth it based on his playoff record. Do you think the Cowboys will draft Shedeur Sanders from Colorado as their next quarterback? If not, do you believe Trey Lance could take that Jordan Love approach and be a sleeper QB for next year? Even though I'm a Packers fan, you guys are definitely great to watch. Keep up the great work. Well, thank you. That's very nice of you, Michael. Shedeur Sanders, Ziggy. Is he a future Cowboy?
They can't get him.
I
mean, Shedeur Sanders is probably going to be, it's him or Carson Beck, but I'm expecting both of them to go in the top 3 to 5 picks in the NFL draft at a minimum. Maybe you don't think Beck's good replace of someone else, but Sanders looked great this weekend. Yeah, I mean, there's a few guys who could go up there, right? But the Cowboys are going to have a draft pick in the 20s.
Unless if they make a major move to go up, which I would.
But no, I mean, if you're a team near the top, right, you're not giving up. Who cares about 3 first-round picks from the Pack or from the Cowboys? You want your guy.
Yep.
Then Trey Lance. No, we have just seen two. Trey Lance was. He was a weird guy, right? He was taken because of the COVID. We got to see very few games from him. He wasn't nearly as athletic as he seemed to be from what we saw in college. There is very good evidence that Trey Lance will never be a good NFL player. You can't just become good by not playing for a couple years. I don't think he's got anything.
Yeah, the Cowboys just named Cooper Rush their backup quarterback for a reason. And as far as the Jordan Love comparison goes, I think it's very different. Jordan Love, hadn't really played much in the NFL. He was just always there behind Rodgers. And clearly there was something there that the Packers, because I didn't think Jordan Love was very good. Like I'll be very honest about it. Anytime I had heard any reports or whatever it was, it seemed like Jordan Love was struggling. And even when he came in a couple times way earlier in his career, I was just never too impressed. I got very excited. Actually, it was awesome. I was thinking to myself,
you can go back and watch some of those videos.
Free from hell. Yeah, you could watch our videos. However, clearly the Packers organization saw something there enough to give him a chance. Yeah, Trey Lance isn't even winning the second string job in Dallas right now. So I'd be hard pressed to find many people who are still confident that he can turn into anything more than maybe just a backup right now. But I'm sure that some teams will take, like he'll stay in the league for a little bit while he's young, while people still can get behind the potential to a degree. But yeah, I'm not really even buying that Dak's going to be gone. So I don't think any of this will be an issue. Dak will probably be in Dallas next year, like I said, after the first question. From Patrick Cortazzo. Patrick says, how important or not is a win for week one? I love this question because week one, there's so much excitement around it. Clearly, you can tell Ziggy, Zach, Jack, and I, we're all super pumped up for our teams to play week one. And you could think about it in college football terms too. Like every moment in football feels so important and everyone overreacts to every single thing, where when we're in September, the Vikings lose to the Giants, or if Notre Dame, like our team, if Notre Dame loses to Texas A&M, everyone's freaking out. There's always going to be problems. That's why this overreaction Monday segments exist. When you get into December and you look back, it's like, all right, like, was it really worth overreacting at the point? Because then you're overreacting to December's games. So you put more emphasis on that. It was like the MVP race. Everyone only cared about what happened in December. So in the moment, yeah, people are going to overreact to week one. But what should you really do? If you lose week one, don't freak out. Look what the Bengals have done a few times. Look at the Chiefs last year. There's a feeling out process that has to happen. So I say no.
Yeah. Every year, there's one team that looks much better in week one than they actually are. This is just inevitable. And the thing is it's very hard to assess what a week one win means because you just don't have an idea of how good a team actually is.
Yep.
So, I mean, a game's a game, right? It's 1-17. It makes a big difference for the playoffs, whether you win or lose. But as tempting as it is to overreact, you just don't know how a season's going to go on the basis of week one. But hey, I mean, as you say, a game's a game, right?
No, every game is just as valuable. Like baseball, every game is just as valuable as the other one. So in September, when the Yankees are chasing down with a 1 seed, that April loss looms just as large as the loss in September does. But yeah, by the end of the season, week one is not going to. It really should not. You shouldn't freak out.
The thing that I would say, the thing I'll always remember is in 2022 of the Commanders when Carson Wentz threw for 4 touchdowns and just absolutely lit up the Jaguars. And everyone thought, all right, he's finally regained form.
Yeah. It's how it is. Some people have good weeks. From JJB_80, _815. What is something that each fan base in the NFC North should worry about for their team? And what is something that you believe each fan base should not worry about for their team, aka an overblown issue? As far as concerns are going, and we kind of go back and forth on this. The Bears, I think, is the pass rush. That is a genuine concern. Where the whole team, I think, is pretty good. But I would be a little bit concerned about who else is helping Montez Sweat this year, and whether or not you're going to be able to get enough pressure on the quarterback, especially in an NFC North now that has Jordan Love, has Jared Goff in that Lions passing attack, the weapons the Vikings have. Why are you laughing at this?
I was going to put that as their overblown worry.
Really?
I think that if you're a Bears fan, one thing and only one thing matters: how Caleb Williams does. You don't care about the defense. I mean, you'd like to win games, but it doesn't really matter. The Bears are not here to win a Super Bowl. The Bears aren't even really here to make the playoffs. The Bears are here for their rookie quarterback to succeed. Who cares about the pass rush?
Well,
if Caleb Williams looks good, great. If Caleb Williams looks bad, who cares if they make the playoffs?
I agree with you that the general goal of Chicago is, or the only real goal of Chicago is Caleb Williams to look good.
Yeah. So then what do you care about the second pass rusher?
Well, the pass rush for Chicago is going to be a concern for them. The defense.
Who cares if it's good or bad? It does not matter.
I mean, I think most Bears fans will if teams are running up and down the field on them.
If Caleb Williams throws for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns, they can go 0-17, and Bears fans will be thrilled.
Yes, if Caleb Williams is great, that's the only thing that matters. But I'm just saying that, like, of the concerns Bears fans can have, the pass rush is a legitimate one. But yes, maybe it's overblown compared to Caleb.
The thing to be worried about, I think, is the health of the offensive line.
Yeah, that was the other one I was looking at, is how the O-line does. There was the line for Chicago on both sides is probably the weakest area of the team. Let's go with the Lions here. What do you think of the Lions secondary? Overblown or not?
I mean, I think you have to say that's the biggest concern, just because there's not much else to look at, really. Right? I mean, the defensive line, from all accounts, Aiden Hutchinson's getting better, and it was okay last year. The offense should be great. That's the only thing I can really point at and worry about. I'll give you an overblown worry, though. Dan Campbell's decision-making. Look, even if you think it is a worry, people are acting like that's going to hold this team back from ever being any good when they made the NFC Championship game last year with his decision-making. Even if you think it hurts them a little bit, it's not going to be the kind of thing that costs them a Super Bowl.
Well, it might have done it last year. No, am I wrong? All those.
I mean, it got them that far, right?
It did get them that far, but if you kick a couple of field goals there, they might be going to the Super Bowl. We might be talking about whether or not the Lions beat the Chiefs. I know that you're a big Dan Campbell guy, and I like Dan Campbell too. But I think that when you talk about his decision-making affecting their Super Bowl chances, it legitimately did last year.
Yeah, it dramatically improved them because it got them into the NFC Championship game,
where his decision-making then cost them.
No. Yeah, so look, if it's good enough to get them that far, that's all I'm saying, but we don't have to relitigate this.
Yeah. It's that is a concern that I would not overblow, but it is one that I think costs them. So let's go to the Packers here. One that I don't think is a concern that I've seen people talk about is whether or not they have a wide receiver one. Have you seen that all? I mean, we've talked about before. Matt LaFleur said, "I'm tired of answering this question." It's not a concern. They have 4 really good receivers. Just 4. They have 4 very good receivers.
It's like fetch. Everyone's trying to make it happen. It's just not happening.
Yeah, and truthfully, Packers fans might get upset at this. I'm not sure any of them will really emerge as a wide receiver one. It might just be a really good collection of weapons, and that's fine. That's completely fine for them. Do you have any real concerns with Green Bay?
I mean, I think the real concern is just how close can Jordan get to that second half of last year performance? I mean, because if their goal is to be a real contender, and it is, it's not enough for Jordan Love to be merely an above average quarterback. He has to be an elite quarterback or very close to it. And that's a big ask, even for a guy who showed some elite potential last year.
Yeah, we could be making...
So I'm not saying he's going to regress big time, but the question of how close he can get, I think that is a real question.
No, and that's one that a lot of people just seem to be assuming that Jordan Love's going to come in and carry over MVP caliber play. which is it's kind of a crazy assumption. If you really sit back and think about it, you're a Packer fan. You're not asking someone to be as good as he was the final 10 games. It's crazy. It's kind of crazy for someone who's only done it for 10 games. You're not like Tom Brady. You can expect him to be great year after year. Mahomes year after year because you've seen it. We just need a little bit more from Jordan Love before you can really place those expectations and assume that they're going to take place. How about the defense in Green Bay? Jeff Hafley's first year. Is that a concern?
I think they will start out slow and people get worried, but the defense was close to NFL average last year. Glaring run defense problems, but they were close to average. Mm-hmm. I think at worst, the defense will be close to average this year. And that shouldn't be something that scares you too much. With a defense that had a lot of problems last year, was good enough to take them into the playoffs and surprisingly deep at that.
Yeah, I think that this is a defense that'll, like you said, get better as the year goes on, and it shouldn't cost them. That's my thought. Is it won't be like it won't be so bad that it prevents Green Bay from, and it could be awesome, but as far as concerns go, I think it should be a fine unit that if the offense is good enough, it'll keep them afloat. Let's go, and lastly, the Vikings here. I think QB is obviously a very real concern. How will Sam Darnold look in his first year with the Vikings, replacing Kirk Cousins? The other one to me is the secondary. Stephon Gilmore's getting up there. Harrison Smith's getting up there. A lot of unproven guys. So secondary and quarterback are my big concerns for the Vikings this season.
There's one thing I'm not concerned about, and that's Justin Jefferson. Every single other aspect of the team I'm concerned about. That's what it is to be a Vikings fan.
That's kind of what it's like. Yeah, that's kind of what it's like. All right, next question from JK Zarada. He says, I got a B+ ranking on my fantasy draft. My biggest stretch was picking up Packers untried kicker Narvison. That's a new starter this season. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing his name right. We'll get there when he misses a big kick. Who was your biggest stretch pickup that you feel you could actually contribute to your teams this year? Yeah, I'm just looking at, if your biggest stretch is picking up the Packers kicker, that's a pretty good draft, I think. Like all
depending on when you took it. I mean, that's
the thing. Depending on when you took him. So I'm hoping that you took the Packers kick, Narvison. I hope you picked him. He had to have been a last round pick. Anything other than that's a little bit of a stretch. I reached for Jonathan Brooks in a few leagues. The Carolina Packers, the Carolina Panthers running back from Texas, rookie running back. He's going to be out for a few weeks. He's coming off an injury from last season. But I've had Chuba Hubbard before. I've been on the Chuba train. I've conducted the Chuba Hubbard train, and I had to get off. Eventually, you have to just get off because he pause. Eventually, Chuba Hubbard, I just lost faith in him. And I know that Jonathan Brooks, when he's healthy, is going to assume that number one role in the Panthers backfield. And I think that he could be someone secretly, if the Panthers offense can pick up a little bit in year two with Bryce Young, he could be a potential league winner. Like it's worth rolling the dice on him. So that's who I took some gambles on.
One player I'm rolling the dice on, and maybe the worst offense in the NFL, is Jalen Polk. And I get that, like, people are acting like this guy isn't an early second round pick. Like, he wasn't an excellent receiver in college and highly drafted. Like, his competition for targets isn't KJ Osborne and Demario Douglas. Like, Jacoby Brissett can get the ball to guys. Drake May will be throwing balls to guys. Like, that's just going to happen. Somebody needs the targets on this offense. And was it going to be Austin Hooper? No, like, this is a guy who has a real opportunity to be a wide receiver one and just get a ton of targets.
I think people.
So if you're in like a PPR league,
yeah,
Jalen Polk could be your guy.
I think people just don't want to be part of the Patriots offense. That's probably the concern.
But that's why you have to take advantage of it, right? I mean, Jacoby Brissett is a decent quarterback. As much as you might hate this offense, again, they're going to throw the ball 25, 30 times a game at a minimum. Somebody's got to get that. Like, Jalen Polk could legitimately be getting double-digit targets a game later into the season.
Let's see here. Zach, who did you reach on?
Me?
Yeah, did you reach on anyone in fantasy this season? Looking at Zach's team here. Zach went, who'd you get in the first round? Tyreek Hill, Mike Evans, Alvin Kamara, round 3, Mark Andrews, James Conner. Yeah.
I don't think I really...
You say that's a disaster of a draft.
Yeah, a lot of people hated Zach's.
Everybody hates me, but you know what? I always come out somewhere.
Ziggy disaster of a draft. Do you? You've won the league, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Zach's very good at the waiver wire.
I had what do you call it? It was the Christmas Kamara.
Oh, yeah, that game.
Oh, but you know what they say, better lucky than good, right?
100%. From Demolinator, he says, do you guys find yourselves liking each other's teams more because you work together like this every week? The Vikings, the Steelers, and the Dolphins. No.
Well,
no.
I think I like the Steelers less.
Yeah, I like the Dolphins to begin with. Like, I've always had a little soft spot for them. No offense, probably because you guys just normally stink. And my uncle's a big Dolphins fan, but as far as the Steelers go, absolutely not. No, I don't. If anything, I've always rooted against the Steelers. I think I've softened up over time, so maybe I am softening up, but no. And Jack doesn't care about the Vikings because we're just irrelevant. We win nothing. From Tony Ball 9585. First, do you think Jeff Hafley's new aggressive approach will make the defense much better than last year's? Second, how do you think Josh Jacobs and Green Bay's offensive line will do against the Philly front? Third, let's do one at a time. First, do you think Jeff Hafley's new aggressive approach will make the defense much better than last year's?
Much better is a stretch.
Much is a
better,
stretch.
I think so.
Yep, I'm with you. I think better. Not will. It's kind of. I've said this before. I'll believe it when I see it with the Packers defense because they do have that collection of young first round talent, but we still haven't seen it. So I do anticipate them being better. Much no. How do you think Josh Jacobs and Green Bay's O-line will do against the Philly front? I think they should be fine. Philly's front's weird where they can either completely take over a game or completely fade away like they did in the second half of the season. I anticipate them being closer to the good unit we saw in the first half of last year. But the Green Bay offensive line, that should be fine. That's not a huge area of concern for me if I were a Packer fan. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree.
Third, how can the Eagles defense stop Love and that 8-man? It just always goes up. 4 receivers, 5 receivers. Now we're at 8-man receiving rotation, especially if the running game is effective. If the running game's effective, it'll be a problem because the Eagles, again, young secondary, a lot of new players stepping in. If Josh Jacobs gets going and you have to start loading the box, Jordan Love with all those weapons, with those 8 weapons, might be able to have a much easier time spreading the ball around. But for Philly, I think it really comes down to, can those cornerbacks, how are they going to do in man-to-man situations when presented?
Well, I think their best hope is this. They can slow down the run and force Jordan Love to make safe plays over and over again. And just hope that, and I mean, this is what Vic Fangio is so good at, right? Just hope that Jordan Love gets impatient. He's still pretty young. We saw against the 49ers, sometimes he wants a home run hitter play. Christian Watson going deep, you think you've got it, force a turnover. Am I saying that's going to happen? No, but if you want to exploit the Packers and what they can do on the offense, it's just make the game boring for Jordan Love and hope he makes a mistake.
Or what it really is, I think, is if that defensive line can get going, one, like you said, stopping the run, but two, get pressure on Jordan Love because we've seen it sometimes when you can get him a little rattled, he can make a mistake. I'm thinking of the 49er game last year. Because again, he was great for that 10-game stretch. It's hard to pick spots there, but one thing that hurt them were the turnovers in that game. Finally, what do you think the final score will be?
Eagles 33, Packers 28.
I know. I'm gonna have a confession here. I really do think the Packers are gonna win this game. Like I do. I think they're gonna win it. I know in the predictions I said the Eagles, but if I'm going to pick the Packers, if I had a gun to my head, I'd go Green Bay 27-24 if I had to pick. Not happy about that. From Ryu Hitsuya, I'm moving on from that immediately. From Ryu Hitsuya 21, which players do you see starting off strong for MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, etc.? And who do you think will be there by the halfway point of the season? Tua, Zach? You went on Tua a little bit this year, MVP?
Sure.
That's confident.
That's a regular season Tua? Yeah.
Dolphins start to the year it's pretty light. It comes on really strong at the end. I think Tua could actually be, like, unironically, could be in that MVP conversation, given the way. Who's Miami have to start the year here? Let me see.
Jacksonville, then it's Buffalo Thursday night, then it's the Seahawks.
But then it lightens up, right?
Seahawks, Titans, Patriots, Colts, Cardinals, Bills again, Rams. Yeah.
Yeah, Raiders, Patriots. I think Tua could actually be in that discussion. Like if you're going to ask for a sleeper pick, Tua could be in there if the Dolphins are winning a bunch of games. But if I'm being realistic here, who do I think will be an MVP candidate early on? I think Josh Allen really has a chance this season to. I know they have a tough schedule, I believe, starting off immediately. But if they get a couple wins there and he's playing well, it feels a little bit like Russell Westbrook when he was with Oklahoma City and Durant had left. Like, what is there other than Russell Westbrook? What is there other than Josh Allen on that Buffalo offense to really get excited about? I think Josh Allen could be in store for an MVP season.
I think that Dak will be a hot, popular choice early. I think he's going to do well against the Browns secondary. I think he's going to get off to a good start, and he's mad. He wants to play his absolute best. And with how much media attention the Cowboys always get, especially early in the season when they still have hopes and dreams, Dak's going to be at the top of everyone's list.
I'm looking at this Bills. I like that. I think Dak's going to have a very good year as well. The Bills have the Cardinals, at the Dolphins, host the Jaguars, at Baltimore, at Houston, at the Jets. Oof. That's brutal. That is a brutal start. But if they have a winning record through that, if they're like 4-2 or something, I think Josh Allen will be a popular pick early. And this is us trying to not say Patrick Mahomes, by the way. Let's see. What's our next one here?
Defensive Player of the Year.
From Eric Wallace. Oh, wait, do you want to do that? You want to keep
just real quick. We don't have to talk about rookies, but Defensive Player of the Year, I will put this out there. Max Crosby is going to surprise a lot of people this year. I really believe this.
Well, not surprise. Yeah, surprise.
I think the casual NFL fan, I don't think would even be aware he's third in Defensive Player of the Year odds, and they finally got him some help on the defensive line. I think he will be the odds-on favorite by midseason.
Max Crosby, he's 27 years old right now. He's had 12.5 and 14.5 sacks over the past 2 seasons. And what was he, like 11 or something like that in the top 100 players? He was 100% in the top 15.
No, he was top 10, I think. I think it was 8.
Yeah, maybe he was 8. Like, this is a guy that are around the NFL circle. Remember the quarterback show? Mahomes was talking about Max Crosby like he was, like he was freaking Joe Green. It was like these guys, like he's so good and no one really knows it if you're not tuned into the NFL to a higher degree than the casual fan. So I like that pick, Ziggy. I always... TJ Watt, when he's healthy, is just different. So I think TJ Watt could be up there as well. Not that that's a crazy prediction or anything. All right, let's go to Eric Wallace, who says, what's the new sub goal for the 2024 season? I think we're 25K by the end of the year. Is that a good goal?
For me, whatever comes. I'm not here for the subs.
That's a really nice approach, Ziggy. 25K, I'll say. From Eli Ice 1715, he says, I like this question a lot. Which bottom 5 teams in the league from last year will take the biggest leap? Who's your favorite to make and possibly win a playoff game? So you had the 2-15 Panthers, 4-13 Commanders, 4-13 Pats, 4-13 Cardinals, and the 5-12 Chargers. Eli said, personally, I'd say in order of biggest leap, I'd go 1 Chargers, 2 Cardinals, 3 Commanders, 4 Panthers, 5 Patriots. You like that? You like that?
Honestly, I think that the Cardinals have a pretty good chance of making a big leap. None of the other teams I'm all that high on. And I know a lot of people are high on the Chargers, but the thing you have to keep in mind that is not a lot of people are talking about this team, this roster stinks. This is just a plain bad roster.
Yeah, outside
and
of
if
Herbert.
Justin Herbert misses any time, they've got nobody who can do really anything on this roster. I get everybody's excited about Mack and Bosa in the pass rush. Maybe that will be good. But you're counting on those guys to stay healthy. Receiver room. I know you've got the Daniel Popper, the beat reporter, coming out and saying, actually, I think it's going to be a strength of the team. No, it's not. Like, I'm sorry, this roster is bad. And anytime you have a bad roster and are relying on a quarterback to Superman it, I'm nervous. Patriots bad. Commanders will be okay, but it's the first year of a rebuild, like a rebuild transition. Panthers, I guess they'll win a few more games.
Yeah, Panthers and Patriots I'm immediately disregarding from this. The Chargers, everyone wants to like them because they have Justin Herbert, but the holes, like you said, are just, there's a lot of them on this team. I don't think they're ready. So that
it's a 2 or 3 year rebuild.
Yeah, 100%. So that leaves the Cardinals and the Commanders, both in the NFC, which helps. Both have very good division winners in all likelihood, whether it's the Eagles, Cowboys, 49ers, or I'll throw the Rams in there. So if you're going for that 7 seed, it's kind of crazy. Like the Commanders are weird to me, where they made a lot of moves this offseason to bolster their defense. I might actually go Commanders because of Jaden Daniels, and it's all relies on the shoulders of Jaden Daniels being good. I'd say gun to my head, I'd say Cardinals are probably the pick because Kyler Murray is a stud quarterback when he's healthy, and Marvin Harrison could help make that offense a little more explosive. But I'm keeping my eyes on the Commanders. I don't think it's going to work out. I really actually don't believe too much in Jaden Daniels, but if he does have an explosive season, at least for this year. If he does have an explosive season, though, that team has added a lot of pieces that I do like. Like people aren't talking about them too much. So I'm keeping my eyes on the Commanders. Cardinals would be my pick. From King Kermit 0118, how excited are you for Jordan Love this season? Not very. I'm very nervous. Right? What do you say?
What's there to be excited about for a Vikings fan?
Yeah, I know. I think it'll be really good. So no, I'm not particularly excited. I'm kind of dreading it. He said, "What are your predictions for his season stats?" And then someone else asked, "How many passing yards will Jordan Love have?" And a few people came in: 4,800 yards, 39 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 5,000 yards, 45 touchdowns. So the expectations are pretty high for Jordan. Last year he had 4,159 with 32 touchdowns, 11 hints. I'm gonna go 4,300 yards, 30 touchdowns, 12 interceptions.
I'm going with what longtime friend of the channel, Merle, had to say. 3,100 yards, 15 touchdowns, 17 interceptions, 58% completion rating, 86 passer rating. Packers go 6-11.
That sounds perfect to me. Yeah, if that's the case, King Kermit, I'm very excited for Jordan Love this year. In all honesty, though, no, Packers fans should be very excited. It's pretty cool when you have a quarterback on the verge of superstardom, and you're right there with Jordan Love. If he comes out,
I think some of those predictions were a little aggressive, like Marino's second year, maybe a little bit much. 5,000 yards, 4,800 yards, 40 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Very few guys put up those numbers.
Yeah,
but yeah, he'll do better than I just said.
What's the next one here? From Coltrane 9173. What division stronger, the NFC North or the AFC North? If you say AFC, what if the Vikings still had Kirk? I would go with the AFC North currently, and I do think it's partially because of the Vikings. I'm also not sure. If I had to rank the teams individually, I'd probably go Lions, then Ravens, then the Bengals, then the Packers. Then I'd go Browns, Steelers, Bears, Vikings. I think that's what I'd say.
I think the Bears will decide which division is better, right? Because if you move the Bears above the Browns and the Steelers, which is totally possible, I think it's possible they have a better year.
Oh, yeah,
easily the NFC
100%.
North. I think a lot of people aren't. The AFC North is always so good. It's very easy to just put them up there. But it's possible the Steelers have a bad season. The Browns have a bad season. The Ravens and Bengals are a little bit more disappointing than people thought. Meanwhile, you could have 2 of the 3 or 4 best teams in the NFC North.
And if the Vikings had Kirk Cousins, I would say the NFC North because I'd put the Vikings.
That's right.
Yeah, I put the Vikings right up there with Green Bay. Honestly, maybe a touch below. But the last time they played, the Vikings kind of spanked them with healthy Kirk. But yeah, that's why I'd say the difference is Kirk Cousins. From XX McLovin XX, hot take: George Kittle disappears in big games. LOL. Biggest example was Lions and Chiefs. Do you agree? Not really. His receiving yardage, his stats a lot of times in those games might be a little disappointing. But the George Kittle, the effect of his blocking is just unbelievable. And you could go back and watch just during certain playoff runs that the 49ers have had. His ability to get out on the edge, and he's just unbelievable blocker. He's a great football player. So maybe he has been disappointing as far as his receiving abilities go, but I don't think he disappears. I think he's just a little disappointing.
Has he been disappointing? I mean, he put up, 80 yards and a touchdown in a must-win against the Packers last year.
No, but
I think about
there are
that
some
tight
games.
Cowboys game in 2022. He put up a century. Tight ends, and the way San Francisco uses them, they often don't use them as their number one or even number two receiving threat. But there have been plenty of big games where he's put up close to 100 yards or caught a big touchdown or whatever.
Oh, he had a huge conversion last year in the Super Bowl. He only had 4 yards, I think, but his one catch was a huge first down. No, I'm not trying to argue that George Kittle disappears.
No.
I'm saying,
well, that's the thing is, you said it, the numbers aren't big, but when the 49ers need a play, he is often the guy they go to.
Well, remember last year too, I think it was later in the game, they got his backup or someone got put in for Kittle and got called for a huge penalty late in the game that offset a 49ers drive, very late in the Super Bowl. So he's an amazing player. I think he's fine. From R4G3 Gaming 13, Packers going to drop Philly a big fat L in Brazil. I got money on Jordan Love for MVP this year. Go Pack, go. Well, thank you for the comment. I mean, I do agree. I think the Packers are going to win the game. We'll see if I change my tune by the live show on Friday. Sammy 50599. 2 questions for my parlays. All right, Ziggy, you take these. Ready? You think Jordan Love will have 2+ touchdowns versus Philly?
No, I think he's going to have one, and Josh Jacobs is going to do the rest.
Okay. Do you believe in the Vikings pass rush to get after Daniel Jones?
Everyone in New York has been talking about how much better the Giants' offensive line is. The Vikings pass rush isn't that good. Daniel Jones is somewhat mobile. They're going to get after him. I'm sorry. I can't talk myself into this. It's Daniel Jones and the Giants.
Oh, I think they will. Van Ginkel, Dallas Turner, Grenard. I think the Vikings actually have a really nice rotation of pass rushers right now. I think they will get on him. And the Giants suck. Keith Moon 13 says, "What's up, Paul Farrington Show? I'm going to use my membership to hijack your channel for a new weekly segment. PFS's upset pick. So be prepared to read this question every week. Which upset would you bet on happening this week if you had to? I got Ravens over Chiefs for an upset this week. Week 1 upsets can be kind of hard to suss out because we don't know how much or worse certain teams are. Who do you guys got?" I'm actually with you. I have the Ravens over the Chiefs in the opener.
I think the Jaguars are going to go into Miami and beat the Dolphins. I'll say it.
Yeah, I figured you would.
What do you think of that, Zach?
No, I figured he would.
Am I wrong?
No, because we're going to win.
History Nerd 8438 says, "Who will pull out the biggest upset slash surprise this week, be it a player or a team?" So very similar question. Probably should loop that in.
I'll tell you, that's not the biggest upset of the week. The biggest upset is when the Tennessee Titans go in and stomp the Bears.
Tighten
up.
Is that a huge upset? Like a huge upset?
It's a bigger spread than the Jaguars Dolphins game.
Jags Dolphins is 3.5. What's that? 4.5 Chicago?
Yeah.
Green Bay would also be an upset, 2.5 points. Who's the biggest one? The Bengals are 8.5 point favorites right now.
Yeah, and then the Bills are, I think, 6.5.
Yeah, I don't think any of those massive spreads. Broncos and Seattle, that's one where I feel very confident Seattle should win that game. But it almost reminds me in some ways of when Denver went into Seattle a few years ago and everyone thought the Broncos were going to win with Russell Wilson. They were a huge pick in the pick'em leagues, and Seattle stunned them. That's just a weird game where I don't really want to touch it, even though...
Do not take the Seahawks in your survivor pool.
Yeah, even though Seattle you probably won't find many people who are, I don't want to say lower, but don't believe in the Broncos being a threat at all this year than me. I think Bo is going to be fun at times, but generally struggle. For some reason, there's something in my gut telling me just be careful about that game. It screams that Seattle should win by more than 5.5, but... yeah, I think I'm with you, Ziggy. I'm going Chiefs or Ravens as my biggest one. Yeah. Okay. Which game? 2 left here. Which game will cause the most overreaction from the media? That's from Memphis 6500. The most overreaction, probably whether they win or lose, will always be the Dallas Cowboys against the Cleveland Browns.
I think there's a bigger one.
Wait, let me find
New York Jets.
Oh, yep. The Jets as well. No matter what they do, if they win, can you imagine they beat San Francisco in San Francisco to start the year? I mean, that's the front page of everything in New York is going to be Super Bowls on.
I mean, Rodgers just has to make it more than 4 minutes, and we're good.
If Rodgers makes it 4 plays, yeah, we're ready to go. Yeah, that's a good one, Ziggy. The whatever happens in the Jets game will be massive. Could you imagine though if they win that game, what it'll be like around here, Zach?
No, I don't want to.
It'll be madness.
I don't want to.
A madness. And then if they lose by 30, it's season's over as well. So I like that pick. Okay, last question here, and this is kind of just off the top. Chris Kramer, 1350, asked again, how do you join? He said, I don't see a link on YouTube to becoming a member. So I said it at the top of the show. If you go to our channel homepage, you should see the join button on the desktop version. If you're on Google Chrome, click on the bottom right 3 dots and then hit select desktop version or request desktop version. And you should see next to our logo the join button to become a member, where you can join our Pick'em League for the Pigskin Pick'em on ESPN for the 2024 season. Every 4 weeks, we'll be having a individual week giveaway where the winner of that week will get a t-shirt and a merch bundle to the overall winner. You can see the password to join the league on our YouTube community page. So if you're having trouble, just DM us. We've gotten a few of those and have helped people figure out how to do that. So there you go. There's the final
One more question from our member,
Okay.
Midwest Mountain Man.
Oh, okay. You got it in. Go ahead.
It's how many poor quality Sam Darnold starts will it take for you to lose hope for the season? Paul, what's your answer?
How many poor Sam Darnold starts?
I've got my answer. I want to hear what yours is.
So let me see here. I just want to make sure I'm right here on the schedule. So we have the Giants, the 49ers, the Texans, the Packers to start, and then the Jets. Those are our first 5 games. If Darnold, probably if he looks horrible against the Giants, but truthfully, if Darnold's bad, 3 straight bad starts. If he's horrible at home against the Texans, then I will probably lose faith on the season. Is that too early?
One of my favorite episodes of The Simpsons. There's a short film festival, and the people around Springfield sort of submit their submissions, right? They put in their. And my favorite scene, I think it's the funniest and also the most poignant, is from Barney. He sends in a thing. It's very artsy, and there's only one line in the whole thing. You know what that line is, Paul?
No.
Don't cry for me. I'm already dead. I have no hope for this Vikings team. It does not matter. I've already lost faith, and Sam Darnold has played 0 games.
No, here's what it is. If we're 0-3 and he looks bad against the Texans, it is still truthfully a little too worried to totally give up on the season, because remember last year we were what, 0-4 or 1-4. If we are 0-5 and lose to the Jets in London with the Lions coming up after the bye, that's when I will say, okay, good night. And I think that is an appropriate time to give up. Even though I'm trying to be more optimistic this season, gonna try and be an optimist. So I guess I should really just try to disregard that question and hope that we beat the Giants week 1. But I like that, Ziggy. Yeah, I'm already dead inside. That's pretty accurate. All right, that'll do it for the week 1 mailbag on the Paul Farrington Show. We'll be back tomorrow night. At least Ziggy and I will be back reacting to Chiefs and Ravens. And then Friday, we have the Packers-Eagles pregame show. We'll be going live on YouTube, and we'll have a reaction coming up after that game. It's crazy. We jump right in now, guys. It's nonstop from here until, February 9th? So we got a lot of shows coming up. We're looking forward to engaging with everyone on the channel. Appreciate everyone who's been listening, and we'll see you next time.